Here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. We are here in deep connection. We're here in deep growth with one another and continuing to like up level the game that we play on a regular basis. I'm happy today to be in this Outliers Edge roundtable with none other than David Homan. David, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today on Outliers Edge. Thanks for making the time for this, and more importantly, thanks for like creating the experiences of life and your vision and such that we would even be able to cross paths. I'm glad you're here.
I, I am grateful. I'm game for all of this. And honestly, it's exciting just to talk with somebody who understands that doing things differently is the right way to do things.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
happy to dig in.
yeah. There was a part of my life where I was like, I could try and be the best, but why be the best when I could be the only? And
Mhm.
like that's worked out really well too. Like that's part of the game that I'm playing right now. I'm really curious for you as outliers are getting to know you. Would you mind sharing more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yeah. So I'm playing a game with power. I built an entire global network focused on one type of person, the connector, and everything in my world is about impact. It's about addressing the problems that don't get addressed because people don't talk to each other who have the means and the ability to change it. And the only way I've found for that to work is to come in altruistically to talk about how we can elevate each other's passions, amplify each other's visions, and really connect so that people have a choice either to engage purposely to help others or to be apathetic and not help the world.
How you brought in the context of like power right off the bat on this here. Like one of the questions that come to me is like, how do you define power in this context? Because when you said it, just like struck me really hard.
It's a 25-year journey now looking at people that have done incredible, great work as a minority. I remember when I ran a global arts philanthropy and I would meet a philanthropist and she said to me, like, listen, I can only give you so much. All of my friends do nothing. I'm the one who gives out tens of millions because they don't have to. And
Mm.
power is something that you wield and that you have either to better yourself and maybe better others, just to better yourself, or the true power is the power you wield because of the community around you. And what I learned the hard way from dealing with a nonprofit during the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme and the housing bubble recession to running a film company for a big family office during COVID when Hollywood paused or died for a little bit is every adversity I'd faced, there had always been people that would step forward to align their vision to help. And most of those in power kept their power.
So this is like tell me here. I just say this. I'm really enjoying this like nuance of power in the conversation. I'm going to see how we continue to interweave it throughout. So you've had a storied career. So you've already brought in like running a global nonprofit, like the film company. Tell us now about like how you are bringing together this network. Let us see what's going on for you right now.
It's always interesting when somebody looks from the outside, like storied career. Like, I have a lot of stories. Most of them are battle scars and anxiety and mental health challenges and parenting challenges
Yeah.
while trying to do something great. So, I have two skills in life. I'm able to build trust with people, and I'm able to remember what they tell me. And the only thing I do with the combination of those two is I go, you know who you should talk to? You should talk to my friend. I do this now thousands of times a year. I've built an entire system. I've written a best selling book about it. I have a startup coming out. Everything seems absolutely amazing, except for it's still storied and it could become a lessons learned story by the time I'm 50 anyway. But the thing I care about is I change lives by connecting people who then, because of that trusted introduction, do something together greater than they could do on their own. That's the power that I wield. Everything comes from convening people, talking to strangers, talking to people I don't know, and changing the way they see themselves in order to then present their best selves to each other for the impact I know they'll achieve together.
So David, like what something is happening in this conversation that is blowing my I want to say blowing my soul, like not my mind, but something deeper, which is like the things that you're saying. I'm like, David is actually doing it, right? There's let me rephrase it. the power that I feel with you, David, is your power of ownership, right? As we're having this conversation, there's a lot of different ways that you can say like, oh yeah, like I have a network of people and we do X, Y, Z. But every single word that comes out of your mouth and the energy that's transferred with it, is imbued with what I feel as a self knowing of like this is it. This is what I do. Like the element of I say my leadership is convenient. My leadership is inviting. But you're literally the only person I know besides the one person who first said it to me who's ever used the words convening as like as their means of power. So as I'm hearing you speak this, David, I got to just make sure I'm being really upfront here. You are pulling out a part of my best self right now that's able to live here, that's able to say like, oh, you can say that, you can just say it and own it, this truth, and bring that in, and that feels powerful to me. So I'm going to make sure I reflect that to you. What are you getting when I say that to you?
I mean, those spidely vibes of being like, yes, something I say matters and somebody might be listening.
Oh
I've
yeah.
approached everything with a great deal of humility. I wasn't born into relationship privilege, into financial privilege. I was born in the United States as a white man, son of a college professor and a mom who ran nonprofits. So I want to acknowledge that. But all the relationships I built, they came through me. They came through learning over and over again the people who want to take advantage of you, the people who promise you something and don't deliver, the people who, in a time of need where you have helped, don't think you gave them a value that they should return to you. None of what I've learned to get this language to the point where you can hear your truth echoed by me is ever been done by something going well in my life. I have heard from my own pain and the pains of thousands of people why, and this is my mission, why relationship value isn't valued. I'm in the middle of launching a startup. I've raised 1,000,001. I am coming out of beta and I am going to investors who I know, who love me, who come to my events and saying, here's everything that I've done. Here's who I am. You say you're founder first. Will you invest in me? They're not answering.
Mm.
I showed them a demo and they love it, but they want the CTO. They want the next and the next. And then several months later, they come to me sheepishly and they go, hey, I'm trying to get an intro to so and so. I'm trying to meet this person. Do you know them? And I smile and I go, yes, I built the system for this. There's no competition in my world of running a network of connectors because everyone who is a connector has never had a safe place for them to ask for what they need and show up and be respected for it. I called it out. I created that haven. I thought I'd have a couple dozen people. I'm at 2,600 and counting because everything I do is not about me or my need. It's about supporting this vision that everyone else tramples upon while needing what we offer, which is the power of the introduction they can't make on their own.
As you're talking to someone I might want to introduce you to, I'm just going to take note of that as well as it comes through. Um, there is so there's a couple different things that I'm hearing inside of that. One of them is the power of what you've already created, right? The other thing that I'm hearing is living for a mission that's larger than yourself.
Mhm.
And I would love to go in there. And then there's another part in here. There's a few things, but there's another part in here of like you like that element of you had the vision, you've actually demonstrated proof around it. People have actually they know that they can benefit from it. But then that element of like reciprocity or being able to like have people invest in the idea or what you're building here. Being able to see where that kind of fizzles out, where it's like we can do all this goodwill, we can be living out there, and then running into some walls with it coming back to you. I want to start in that last bit there because I think that what I really get about you, David, is that like your spirit is not just aspiring, but it comes from a good place, and you're also able to. I can hear how you've been able to balance being altruistic while also being financially responsible and being able to create value out in the world. You said like why aren't relationships why isn't relationship value valued? You know, I'm curious about like that element of contention because I could see other outliers being like, I've done so much, I have this great idea, everyone loves it, like, but then when push comes to shove, the support isn't there in the way that I would have imagined it to be. Do you mind just speaking a little bit to your experience
Yeah.
with it a little bit?
So let me tell you about a post I made when I closed my first round, my like friends and friends round because I had no family that could invest. I looked at who invested. I looked at the amount of time I'd put into them. I did a whole detailed analysis of all the value I had to give and the chain of connections for it. And everyone thought it was great. I raised my first round. We just finished the first close of my second. But that wasn't the article I wrote to celebrate it. Because what I said was, here's how hard it was for me. And I'm a white man in my 40s with this track record, with insane connectivity to family offices and next gens and billionaires and VCs. And this is how hard it was for me. Imagine how hard it is for the person of color or the woman or the person not from a major, say, G7 country to achieve anything of what they want to do, because I felt the system was stacked against me and I was able to overcome it from something I'd put 20 years into at that point. Why is this hard to bridge the gap between vision and capital, between access and opportunity? And why are so many, everyone talks about it, just specifically for my startup, how the ratios haven't changed of how hard it is to get a startup to not die, that every investor has the same knowledge that 90% are going to fail. And yet we're still investing in the same people who keep failing because we know them, as opposed to embracing those outliers who have the grit and the ability to do it because they see things differently. And that's really what I cared about in that post, because I know from my network, with enough resilience and opportunity, I will keep meeting the right people. I will finish my next round. I will build what I want to build. And that's because I built a massive thing most people can't first without monetizing it. And so my frustration is that it should be easier for me still, and it is not, because people turn on an investor hat. They turn on their hypocritical hat. They turn on their selfish hat when somebody wants something from them, as if we pitching others are not also providing an opportunity. It only becomes, are you good enough for what I could give to you? And that's not the way that the world actually moves forward with philanthropy, entrepreneurship, or just any type of investment. We've just built these really massive moats in the sand that we can't jump over.
As you say that here, I think part of the reason why I like talking to outliers here, because you've had, what I find is that you get to a level of success that other people might also have, but the way that you had to get there was different than others, right? And and one of the things I like about that is that when I think about change happening in the world, impact happening in the world, I realize that it's not going to come from the people who have who've gotten there the way that most other people do, right? The real change is going to come from people who like naturally see change. And what I get about you, David, is like you're going through this. You're resilient. You're in the game. You know how to leverage and you know how to keep showing up, and you wield your power effectively. And what lights me up inside is I'm like, all right, as you continue to climb to whatever this next summit is on the multiple mountain ranges that you're going to climb, like you're going to be someone who makes it easier for the people afterwards. And I think like that, like whereas other people create larger and larger moats, I feel like the thing, one of the things that's nice about you is that you're here to create bridges. Let me just put that out there. Does that, when I say that, does that feel like does it feel aligned?
Yeah. So in my other world, we haven't talked about, so no one knows
Yeah.
this, but the reason I call
Yeah.
my world orchestrated connecting is I'm also a classical composer. So
Hmm.
I've been writing classical music since I was 12. If you say to the device that Jeff Bezos built, which is sitting over there near me, so therefore I can't say it or she'll turn on, you can just hear about 100 pieces of my music.
Hmm.
And I always describe myself as a composer as a gateway drug, which is now fortunately legal in most places, but as a gateway drug for other people learning to love classical music, because mine was melodic and accessible and gave people a sense of what this beautiful area of music that no one seems to buy. And yet, if you were to take classical music out of movies, no one would go watch Avatar. No one would go watch Star Wars. We wouldn't do what we love without this music. My same world, right? The cheesy line is, to find the resonance between people, the way I do as a composer. That same world is to build a system so the people that do this better than me, and there are thousands that I found, they have the opportunity they don't know that I had to ask for.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I'm going to come and talk to outliers real quick here, David. I want to go a little bit further into both these worlds here, right? So outliers, like the conversation, like here the conversation we're having with David, you're going to learn about his world here. But as we're talking, we're also learning about David, and I want you to be thinking about how this applies to you, right? Some of the things that David, I'm going to make sure you know this here, but some of the things that keep striking me around David is one, he is his level of ownership more than anything else. That is what like sound like comes out revolted like resoundingly is his level of ownership, even to orchestrating connection. You're like, if you really knew me, you would know that like underneath this here, all I'm ever doing is orchestrating, composing things and putting things together. So I feel that one. Two, David also is out here demonstrating what it's like to know your lane. Like I hear, like as I hear you talk about this, David, you're not like I need to be the I've composed all these songs that's just supposed to like work for every single person out there in the world. You're like, no, like this is the gateway drug into this type of music. Like it's accessible, you know what you're doing with it, and you create it with intention, ongoing in an ongoing fashion. Outliers, where in your world right now are you creating something that has a purpose that is incredibly meaningful and intentional, but rather than just owning what it is and where it should be, you're making it too broad, too general, or shying away from like owning the space that you yourself have, and that's really like shining through to me here. So as we have this conversation, I'm going to keep talking to David, and we're going to keep like asking him questions. Go ahead and put things in the chat about questions that you have, but I ask you to like you can hear from his responses. He's not just playing on the surface level. There's deeper levels underneath it. And so if as you're going through and you're thinking about what you're creating, how you're working through owning what you have, and how you like, David is doing like, if you don't mind me saying this out loud, David, like it's almost like I wish like you're creating from alignment. And I feel like other outliers here, like myself included, sometimes we get afraid of what happens if we do this. What if the world wouldn't say yes? Like what if we run into roadblocks, so on and so forth. I just wanted you to hear like the person he is being as he is creating this out in the world, because that's the real element of this conversation. And from there, please go join, like, if you know someone that's an investor or wants to invest in this, like reach out to David. I hope you don't mind me putting that out there, David. If
I don't
you
know.
if you're a connector and you hear this like this world that he's created around connected different connectors and creating a haven for them to be successful, like reach out to David. But like no matter what, like listen underneath all this, because who he is being is what is creating this as well. There's actions being done, but who he is being is creating a lot. David, hopefully that wasn't awkward for me to just come in and share that here, but this is what I'm hearing. This is like the undertone of the conversation that we're having here for me. Was there anything that you would like to like? I'm curious about your experience of that, or anything
No.
you'd like to
Let
say
me
to allies about that.
let me address this right with everyone that you're talking to. Right,
Yeah.
like in the history of outliers in particular, there is no human innovation that has happened from the norm and people doing the norm. In history, we talk about it in a garage. You talk about one of the most important people who was African American for blood transfusions, and he did it completely before the guy that took the credit for it. There is history with the woman who invented windshield wipers being told her idea was stupid and then somebody taking it. Every innovation on this planet has happened through diversity. It's happened through people seeing things in a different lens. There is no such thing as something that was just a normal dude built it because it was innovative. So the challenge is that everyone thinks that by doing it differently, you're doing it wrong until you're proven otherwise.
Hmm.
I'll give the idea for me, right? So like I'm a professional convener. I wrote a book on how to build community. And in that I have a map of how to do it and how to hold events. And I talk about in the first part of my book, my own events. This novel thing that I do in my events, which is when people come, I put them in a small group to start. I'm not the only one, but I've insisted upon it for hundreds of events so everyone can meet the right people in the first 30 minutes, not randomly in line, as I often say, for the bathroom. And people think it's great. They think it's innovative. They think I'm a maverick. They don't do it. They convene like it's middle school again. And middle school convening sucks. And I go to conference after conference after conference with people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I go up and I don't do this, but people go and they talk to people who look like them. talk like them, convene like them, and then they get nothing out of it because no one could benefit by talking to themselves. And I walk up to the outliers who are trying to read the room and I say, "You're a connector, aren't you?" And they go, "I am." I was like, "Well, let me bring you to somebody who I trust."
Mhm.
And it's just a different way to do it that is really not that hard. And
Mm.
yet people seem to think I'm an innovative thought leader, a guru in the space of convening or connection, because I say, when I make an intro, you should respect and honor it. When I come to your event, try to make sure I meet the people you think I should meet. Like, those seem so commonplace that they shouldn't be um, a maverick thing for me to say. And every outlier ever, the history is, oh my God, look at what Steve Jobs did. Look at what so and so did. Every chance, everyone told them no till everyone wished they had said yes.
There's it's awesome talking to you. I'm like, oh, I really am like, like as you're talking about this, I'm like, yep, I get it. I really get it. There's a there's a thing that as you're talking, I'm like, oh, you're also speaking to your outlier advantage. The words I look at this here, right? Which is like, there's something about like what you do that comes so innately to you that it's like I can't understand why other people aren't doing this. And what it's really getting me is that like you've gone and you've built businesses based on this. You've gone and built livelihood based on this thing that comes so natural to you because like that thing you just described where you go in and you look for people who and you look to actually create relationship value and you bring that in and you look for the people who are on the outskirts and you're like you're not like everyone else here, right? Let me go and bring you over. Your thing you're looking for is the connector. There's certain ways that you find that in people, but you're able to see that and bring them into a space where they're who they are can flourish and also be respected, honored, and valued. Uh, I hear that. I'm like, oh, you can't like I experience that as like, oh, you can't not do that. Like you walk into a room and you just see it. You can see like uh, I'll use my language here if you don't mind, David. What you're describing to me is where I almost feel like I'm tired of being in a like-minded room. People are like, oh, I'm just hanging. I want to be with other like-minded professionals or like-minded people. I'm like, I'm out. There's nothing I can gain in a like-minded room, and I don't think like most of you, Like for me, what I want is different-minded, like-hearted people different
Yeah.
minded like-hearted, and I feel like you have this element of not only seeing that in people but taking the initiative no it's not seeing it, taking the initiative, having the containers for and having the system of to be able to actually like multiply the value that is there from that. When I put it in that context, does that feel like it lands?
Yeah. I mean, maybe next book you could just write it for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like the thing about it, Dave, is as you're talking, I'm like, oh, the reality is for me, I'm like, oh, it's possible. Like you're talking about all the things that I have been. I mean, like, how do I convey this out into the world? This is what's happening underneath. I mean, you're an Outliers Edge. We're all here having a roundtable. It ends up being the two of us here together right now. But I oftentimes like go out and I curate other outliers and I bring them into this space together. Right? I don't know who's gonna like pop off with one another or not, but like I could easily just do a one-on-one conversation and be done. I could have this be recorded on Zoom, which is what I did for years. But instead, I'm like, well, why don't I just live stream this here? Because there's gonna be some people who will never go and listen to a podcast of it, but they might just see it scrolling on their phone and like we get a chance right now to go and connect with them in this moment here, right? And there's a I oftentimes say to people when we have more than one people on here, one more than one person on here, I often go and say like, you think that the benefit is that I'm promoting you through this platform, but it's not. It's the other people in this conversation. It's a new ways that y'all get a chance to like grow and meet with each other. And so as you're talking, I'm like,
Yeah.
I do a lot of these things
Well,
like behind the scenes. I'm like, you just say it up front.
yeah, so the
You could
the
do
the
that.
irony is, and this is a joke. I'm getting no benefit out of this because no one else showed, but you're getting great benefit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're well.
yeah.
No, but here's my life,
No,
right?
and
Every
thanks.
day, and I'm happy to because you're obviously a connector. It's why when we started the discussions about this, I was like, of course, he sees it the way I see it. I now have thousands of us
Yeah.
because I spend my time with no expectation of return every day talking to people. And then what I do, because it's the only currency that I have besides convening well and the rest, is making a useful introduction.
Mm.
So my friend Christine introduces me to her friend Innocent. Amazing guy in the health space, in longevity and the rest. And Innocent grew up as the son of a diplomat, mostly in Geneva. He's African by birth, but mostly spent his life in Switzerland in like that diplomat kids world. And I was like, well, what are you really after? He's like, well, one of the major things I want to do as I build my company, Siba Health, to be greater and greater, is to help the people, especially back home, where I really call my roots, back in the continent of Africa, with health, especially women's health and girls' health and children's health. And I go, well, that's fantastic. I got to introduce you to Kojo. And he's like, who's Kojo? And I was like, Kojo grew up as a diplomat's kid in Geneva and London and then New York. And a huge part of what he does with his family office is focus with his niece Ariel and others on health, especially women and girls. He's like, well, that's my story. And I was like, well, that's his story. I know both of you. At the time, I had never met either in person. And I connected Innocent Clement, who's an amazing friend and part of my network, to my other buddy, Kojo Annan, whose dad was the late Kofi Annan. As in, the reason was in New York is his dad was Secretary General. And they had that same passion because I spent enough time to be curious. And then I pattern matched and I said, go talk. And this is the ultimate skill because everything comes from relationships given. We just don't see it this way because, like classical music, it's so much apparent around us. We don't see the value constantly being there, whereas we see the transaction of how much things take for our time or how much money it costs us to get something.
Yeah, David, as you say this year, like a couple of things are playing out for me. The biggest thing in my mind is like I really do value this conversation, and I think that there's something happening here. And my big thing is I'm like I want to make sure that David gets something out of this year. So as we go through, like my invitation is be selfish, okay, whatever that means, or if the selfish doesn't line, like be self first, because there is something there. You've also reframed for me where I'm like, oh, it's actually a disservice that I only have one person on here. Thank you. I've been playing that
No,
out in my mind.
things happen the way they're supposed to happen. I once went to do a keynote in front of a room years ago that was four people. And
Mhm.
because I learned this from my dad, you do it no matter what is in front of you. I did it like it was the most important speech of my life. And one of those four people changed my life more substantially than any other has with introductions that they've made because I didn't say, I don't want to do this speech or I'm just going to phone it in and do 5 minutes. It was like I was just speaking to them. That was the value. That was why I was there. I just couldn't see it at the time.
Yeah, yeah, I feel it. Like I feel you bringing everything to this conversation. There's no part of me that doesn't feel that at all. It's just also like there is an outlier. I hope you're seeing this here, right? Like how you choose to show up. Like you've been saying this, like underneath everything you said. You're like, yeah, it took me 20 years. I've been building this for 25 years. I have 2,600 people. I've been doing this. Like you've been giving, connecting. You've been even with that story that you just shared. It's like as you were saying, I was like, wow, this person has a whole database like flowing inside of you because it's not just the fact that you had people in your network, but the fact that you could remember them and you knew like what their stories were and how and like were able to make that connection in like the right time in the right place. Like there's something really real with that. And I'm just really grateful that you decided to build something around it, build something around it in a really meaningful way. I've like, go ahead,
I
David.
didn't actually know what else to do.
Yeah.
And it started off as something that I thought would be a small thing. It became a bigger and bigger thing. And to this
Yeah.
day, I'm still like, all right, well, I guess I need to expand from New York, LA, Austin, Miami to Dallas because everyone in Dallas is driving into Austin. And wow, people are calling me from Chicago and DC. When are you coming? Can you do more? So, I mean, I built this global network based on listening to people and following the cues, but I didn't know what most of those clues were until after things were already in motion.
So let's talk about that a bit here because like you got things into motion, and you even said like you're like we might find out what like whether this is a lesson or if this is the big thing. Like you're still in the story of it all, right? How do you
Yeah.
navigate like that level of uncertainty while still being like while still approaching thing with both power and drive?
You either love the journey of life or don't be on it.
Mm,
And I don't want people to put that on a coffee mug. Like I want them to understand why, right? Everything is like the children's book I used to read my kids, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And in this book, I don't know if anyone is listening has read it, but if not, if you have small children, it's one worth rereading.
Mm.
You give a mouse a cookie, then it wants milk. Once it has milk, but it spilled the cookie, it needs to like sweep up the stuff. But once it sweeps it up, it needs, and it goes on and on and on. Life is actually just a series of events that make sense later. You have to do your best to frame, right? So let me frame myself a little bit differently. I run a global private network of super connectors, which is over 2,600 people in 189 cities in 35 countries. I run events at least once a year in New York, where I'm based, every month, but August, in London, Toronto, Boston, New York, DC, Miami, Chicago, Dallas, Austin, Los Angeles. And if I get to it this year, from San Francisco last year, San Francisco. The only thing stopping me from doing Denver and Seattle and Vancouver and Dubai and the rest is the capital I don't have, because the system works. Thousands of interests happen every year. I get the results, which is what's called honoring the chain of connections. People have to tell me the outcome of what happens from introductions I've made or happen within the network, within the system, or they don't stay in the network because I don't charge for it. I don't take sponsorship, and I do events at cost. Now, I'm a best-selling author, building out a more public speaking career. I just did 2 keynotes down in Atlanta for an ex-NFL group, an EO group, and I have a PwC gig coming up and many more. Just finished the first close of my second round of my startup, Soar Connect, which is a systems level tech where the real goal is rebuild the world through trust. I spent some time mapping my brain, studying connection. This is a decade of experience into a startup that should actually do what it says it's going to do, unlike the others that I've been trying and have failed me in the space. And everything is a system where the point is there's going to be somebody listening that needs me to help them. And my spending time here is to help you as our host see what you have as a superpower and have that one person reach out to me and have me help them. And that is what I get from this. And at some point, by helping you and helping them, you guys will help somebody that I can't help. And at some point, that person will help somebody who helps somebody I don't know, and that person will help me. This is the actual relationship game. And when you talk about the storied version of it, the story becomes clear once all that happens. We have no ability as humans to make that happen, which is why when you can augment humans with AI, not replace them, you can then create a situation where we can be more relationally smart and savvy and trustworthy to do what we say we're going to do all at the same time. That is what I built. It is either going to become big, successful startup, big speaking career, global network, people backing it, or I'll have done this altruistically in a really beautiful way. And people who I love and trust and respect will get a little bit more out of it than they give. And so they'll keep giving.
David, how do people who do feel called to go deeper down the journey with you go ahead and do that?
Intentionally. That's why we're talking now. You write me a note. You can literally find my cell phone or my email in most things, or I'm incredibly well networked. So I'm usually a half degree away from most people. If you think you're a connector, this is a community for you, as long as I or somebody would leave my kids with you. Now there's a book everyone can buy about this. There's a ton of podcasts on different variations, not just of this subject, but of my journey of mental health, of being a dad, a lot of variations. And then I convene. I bring people together. I show up everywhere I can, whether I'm hired to or not. I'm always invited. I'm not just gate crashing. But I do this for one goal, which is to have people who should trust each other build that trust.
Allies, I invite you to take him up on this. There's something about this conversation here that I think you really understand uh, of a value of human, like the opportunities that we have as humans that is just like under tapped into completely. And I'm grateful for you and the work that you do. I'm also really grateful on how you show up. This element here, outliers. I'm going to go back here. I want to make sure we connected there, but you know, David did something here that I really appreciated. One, you invited a reframe. You're like, let me frame this differently, right? And you brought in who you are, right? How you want, like how you wanted us to see you in that moment. Outliers, where do you take the opportunity to think, even just consider your frame? Like David, you consistently told us who you are, what you believe, how you see things, and what you've done. And you came back in here and you brought that in one more time through a frame that was really intentional. And Outliers, as he was doing that here, you might have heard the words that he was hearing and be like, wow, that's like really impressive. Or you could listen to it and be like, where am I? Like, what would happen if tomorrow I went into a conversation and rather than just being like, kind of thinking about like the networking thing you were talking about, like the conference where everyone just kind of just like talks and describes themselves in the same way, you choose a different frame. You choose a different way of showing up. They would really you demonstrated that really beautifully. You really like, and it was really honest and genuine. I really I was like very grateful that you did that there. The next thing that came out, David, that I felt was just like the clear ask. Right, there are stakes to play in your world, David, and I want to make sure I'm saying this out here too. So outliers, like notice this, like David doesn't just give free passes, right? He's like, are you a connector, right? Like if you're not a connector, I don't see the energetic connection coming through. But like when you are one, like and he stated different criteria around it. He's like, I like we need to be able to trust our kids with you. Like that's not something you hear when people think about a network. They're like, I'm a part of a business network group. I have a community of people here. Would you leave your kids with them? Probably not. You know, and that's one of his like entryways, the gateway to get into the world is to be someone of that level of character and yeah, I'll just say that level of character out in the world, right? And if you go back and listen to this here, you'll hear that David had different criteria along the way, and he stated it up front. He's like, "This is who it's for. This is who it's not for," and it wasn't just like you can't even pay him into it. Like you can buy in, but he's like he does the events at cost. He like there's some element of this here where I look at this and I say, where in our world right now are we not setting and holding our standards so that people understand like this is what we're really up for in the world? And David, I think you really demonstrate that really beautifully here. And I want to make sure that outliers don't miss that because whether you're making connections that are coming through, whether you're entering David's world, whether you're connecting him with a connector out there where you're like, maybe this isn't me, but there's someone out there who would honor and respect relationships and really values it. I need to make sure that they know about David. Whatever it is here, like there's something going on that is beyond the words that are being said. It's something going on that beyond the words that are being said. And I ask you, I implore you, outliers, to bring your version of this out into your world and have people experience you differently. You are not like most other people. So show up that way. David, I'll toss it to you. We're going to start wrapping up the conversation, but I'm curious about anything else you want to say here, and I'll ask you one last question to wrap up altogether.
Yeah, so I want to give a little context. I name dropped a couple friends who are friends, but I want to get people to understand this actually works. I raise capital faster than most other startup capital friends. I chair a Celebrity Theater Foundation board based on the work of the playwright Arthur Miller, where Bradley Cooper or Steven Spielberg show up for a gala. I ran a company for Ray Dalio because of the trust I built with his family, who then hired me. I am in a normal day figuring out how to connect somebody of the likes of the woman who runs Jody Allen's philanthropy to another friend whose wife is Malala. Like these are not hypotheticals. I have done this approach and I have gotten access to people that other people dream of. And I've built a relationship with them as an equal with trust because of how I approach this access. So it can be immediately beneficial when you shift your mindset, but it can also be altruistic at the same time.
Mm. David, I appreciate you. As I've said in this conversation, we like to end every one of our conversations here with basically my threshold is like every conversation should have the possibility of being a life-changing one. And so I'm curious for you, David, what's something that you are taking away for yourself here? I think you've given a lot to outliers out there. But if it were something that you were walking away from this conversation for yourself, what would that be?
I would say I've not really called myself or felt myself an outlier for a long time because of the inclusive nature of the system I've built, but I still am. I am still considered in many cases a maverick in the space of relationship value, and I don't get it. I don't think I'm saying something that isn't a truth everyone wants to hear hears. I just think we haven't understood the true value behind it. which is why I appreciate you being so clear for your community on not just spitting back at everyone listening a better, eloquent, summarized version of what I've spit off in my somewhat eloquent drivel, but more this idea that when you can feel truly heard, you can then act on that change. When you don't feel heard, you retreat, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and you wonder when the world's coming to save you. And we have to get out of that idea that we are a victim or a martyr. We have to move towards this idea that we can celebrate each other with gratitude, as you've done many times, and make a positive difference. The only way it happens is through being heard and then taking action.
We'll leave it at that, dear. David, thank you for your time. Thank you for your experience. Thank you for showing up in the way that you do. Outliers, this is just the beginning of our journey here. Please, like, let's do something together. All right. And my ask here is this: until the next time we all talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.